Be talking with him about the authentic Bonnie and Clyde Festival. Yeah, that's one of those songs here on the Nuru 102 Four Tops, When She Was My Girl, that I do believe, because back in the day, radio stations, what they would do for promotion would be to just play one song incessantly, forever, 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, and then that was just getting more people to tune in and listen to it. Well, and my question was, and John, I'm going to ask you, John Cole's in the studio here, this is totally off the cuff and I'm not wearing sleeves, that if you had to sit in a room with only one song playing constantly for 72 hours, A, do you think you could do it? And then B, what would that song be that you think you could handle?
I could absolutely do that, and I think that song would be Steve Miller's Fly Like an Eagle.
Boom! There's an answer. I like it. Okay. All right, so we're going to be talking about Bonnie and Clyde Fest. I want to play this not only for the radio audience, but also for those who are watching the live stream right now. Let me see if I got this all set up. Here we go.
Make plans to come to historic Gippsland this Saturday for the 30th Authentic Bonnie and Clyde Festival. We begin Friday evening at 6 for the Lorraine Joyner Historians Meeting Jambalaya Dinner for historical discussions. Then Saturday, it's a free festival day with makers, vendors, music, and 5 different shootouts reenacted by the group Public Enemies of 1934. See our Facebook page for times, all to be capped off with a recreation of the ambush of these cold-hearted killers on the original ambush site. It's the 30th Authentic Bonnie and Clyde Festival this Saturday in historic.
All right, who came up with sure as shooting? We'll see you there.
Oh, that was off the cuff yesterday. I mean Friday.
Well, no, it's in print, so on the press release. So obviously, I like it. I like it. All right, so John Cole, our guest here this morning, the authentic Bonnie and Clyde, the 30th festival. My gosh, man, there's a testament to communities coming together and working for the greater good and putting something on. Take us back to the beginning, and then we're going to talk about this coming weekend.
Great. Yeah, the festival started in 1993. There was a nucleus group that created the festival committee that was led by several people, Pam Valentine, Catherine Body, who, by the way, just passed away a couple of weeks ago. She was 96. She was very dedicated to the festival. She loved having people come to town. She loved talking to people and telling them the story of Gippsland. It was basically founded to preserve facts. I've talked about this numerous times over the years. You know, as time goes by, this is the 89th anniversary of the ambush. Actually, it is today, May 23rd.
It's
almost an hour from now. It's happened at 9:15.
Well, it's a half an hour from now.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize what time it was. But anyway, the goal of the committee was to, have people come to Gippsland and have a good time and learn facts about the Bonnie and Clyde ambush.
The Bonnie and Clyde Festival, the authentic one, the 30th, is going to be this Saturday. And how to learn the facts is to show up on Friday evening at 6 o'clock. So talk about that. It's a historians meeting. And everybody seems to have, at least, John, an awareness. Others have a deeper passion. And then last week, as we found out, some gentleman took his week vacation to spend it in Gippsland from Indiana.
Right.
So, I mean, talk about, I don't know, was there a question in there?
Yeah, I think
okay, I thought there was. I lost it.
Yeah, the Lorraine Joyner Historian Meeting starts at 6 o'clock in the Lions Club building in downtown Gippsland. It's right next door to the Bonnie and Clyde Ambush Museum. The meeting is named after Lorraine Joyner. She was one of the original festival committees that started the festival in 1993. Mm-hmm. And Miss Lorraine was very, very interested in history. She was a deep history buff, and she actually was alive at the time that this happened, and she, over the years, had collected a lot of memorabilia, and she had also became friends with Marie Barrow, who was Clyde's sister, and Marie has been to our festival numerous times. Of course, she is no longer living, but she's written several books, and so that's kind of why we named it after her. It'll be anywhere from 75 to 100 people that'll come and share stories and research and talk and learn and listen. We do have Buddy Barrow lined up to speak. He is Clyde's nephew. We have Raylene Parker Linder, who is Bonnie's niece, lined up to speak. We have Ben Hendrickson, who is another nephew of Clyde's. And all of these people come and talk to us about their experiences through their family ties, and it's real interesting. We also have a couple of other speakers coming. Bart Largent, who is a renowned 1930s criminal author who's written about a dozen books. And then we have a new thing this year. Terry Latta is from South Louisiana, and he owns a huge collection of period guns that from the 1920s and 30s, and he's going to be sharing some interesting facts and information about the types of guns that Bonnie and Clyde used in their crime spree.
All right, that's going to be Friday evening, 6 o'clock, right next to the Ambush Museum. $15 if you want to eat, so we'll get a complete meal with dessert, jambalaya, or if you just want to come and hear, just show up, correct?
That's right.
And then I think I heard you telling Doug Postel, it's almost like you have open mic, because talk about your coincidences. Just when you think you know everything, somebody says something that you didn't know before, and they show up.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. That's an interesting thing, and it's always been interesting to me, the type of people who come to the Historia meeting. We have scholars, we have authors, and then we just have everyday people who had some type of connectivity to the Bonnie and Clyde story. We people that come and say, hey, you know, my grandpa was downtown the day they got shot, or my aunt was in the cafe when Bonnie and Clyde came in and bought a sandwich. It's really interesting, even 89 years later, and we're in second and third generation of families, what the connectivity to the story is in the area. It's really fascinating.
All right, so it's this Saturday, the Bonnie and Clyde, the authentic Bonnie and Clyde Festival in historic Gippsland, Louisiana. It all starts with a pancake and then ends up with a shot.
That's correct. Not a shot of whiskey.
No.
Yeah, no. We have a group that comes in. It's Public Enemies 1934. They're a reenactment group, and they come in and they have the period cars, the period dress, the period guns, and they will do 5 reenactments, shootouts in downtown Gippsland. 4 of them are actually in downtown Gippsland, and the last one at 4:30 is out at the actual ambush site where they recreate the events that happened on the day that they were ambushed.
So that's going to be the, pun intended, I think even the public service to cap it all off is...
Just happens that way.
It does. It comes out.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the eccentric. And John and I spent last Friday at the museum, the Ambush Museum, which is incredibly loaded with incredible artifacts and information. Then took me out to the site itself. Was it last year you had a couple that wanted to get married, or a matter of fact?
Oh, no. That it was an interesting story. Over the years, we've had 2 weddings out at the actual site. One of them occurred, and it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I believe. Time goes by.
I wonder if they're still married.
I don't know. That might be. Hey, if you're listening, let us know if you're still married.
Yeah, they're going to be watching this later. And then, by the way, it gives a whole new meaning to a shotgun wedding.
Yeah.
Okay. But two of them. Huh?
Yeah, but right after the shootout, it was done and it was over, and everybody was standing around and talking and being in awe of the reenactment. These people came up and said, "We brought our own minister. We want to get married right here. Do y'all mind?" And we said, "Absolutely not."
All right. So before you and I get too carried away, this is a very serious subject too, because we're not glorifying the gore. I mean, the criminals, and then we're not glorifying the gore. 12 people were killed by these two that we know of, right? 12 people who were husbands and sons and brothers, etc. And you paid tribute to that. So this is accent on the law enforcement, because those are stories.
That is correct, and what he's referring to, if you come down to the festival Saturday, stop by the festival office. It is also a museum. There's no charge. It's free to get in. Mm-hmm. There's replicas and artifacts and memorabilia in there as well. But we do have we have two rooms. One room is specifically honors the law enforcement. There's a ton of information. If you're on a research bender, you can read a lot of actual true facts that we have about the 6 lawmen. And then the pride of the festival committee office is we have another room that memorializes the 12 people that Clyde and his gang killed. And it tells their story, who they were, what the event was, and why it happened, and what the outcome was. And so a lot of people come not knowing about that room, and
right.
They come in and they read it, and they leave there having a total different perspective about what went on.
Right. I mean, let's get real, too, in this day and age of culture being programmed by Hollywood and all of the other media. Bonnie is not Faye Dunaway. Clyde is not Warren Beatty. These were a couple of punks. For whatever reason, they didn't do any good, as far as I can tell.
No, and a lot of people say they're victims of circumstance and got caught up in their vicious circle, and but crime is crime. And
right.
You know, a lot of people ask, and I think you asked Friday, what is the allure of all this? And you know, I think there's a faction of people that want to know the truth, and then there's a faction of people who want to follow the love story of Bonnie and Clyde,
right.
which was created by Hollywood with the Faye Dunaway, Warren Beatty movie. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, there's lots of varying opinions about it all, and people have just different ideas about what they believe.
Well, it's going to happen this Saturday. The weather's going to be perfect. Let's twist this now to a food festival side, because this is Louisiana. Fun and frivolity will be there.
That is correct. We have a great lineup. We have music all day off of the center stage. We have a parade at noon. We do have some antique cars that are going to be on display down on the north end of town by the library. We do have a cakewalk. We have a fundraising bingo parlor set up. There's several times of the day that you can play bingo, and then again, the shootouts are at 10, 1, 2, 3, and 4:30. So there's lots of stuff going on. One thing too, Buddy Barrow, Ben Hendrickson, and Raylene Parker also stay for the festival during the day.
So they'll be walking around.
Yeah, they'll be walking around, and
right.
they'll be hanging around at the Ambush Museum. They are very approachable, very talkative. They want to tell their story, and they are there to answer your questions. They're really neat people when it comes to sitting down and talking with you.
John Cole is our guest this Saturday. It is the 30th anniversary of the authentic Bonnie and Clyde Festival. You know, and the more I'm getting kind of close to this, I mean, I've always known it was there, and I've always known about the marker. I've always known about people picking it and shooting it, and then even the most recent theft. But and there's a question that's trying to get away from me before I ask it. Oh, gosh. Don't you hate this job? No, I don't hate the job. I love the job. Oh, gosh. And John, being a historian, is like the what-ifs of life, you know? Gippsland didn't go asking for this thing.
They did not.
You know, I mean, and so here it is, and at the same time, now people are coming. Do you have all 7 continents that have made it to Gippsland, do you think? We know all 50 states have been there, right? Because of this.
Yeah, that is true. When you look over the registry that we do, all 50 states have been. Even Alaska. We had a fellow last name of Rhodes from Alaska came. I specifically remember him. But we've had Europe, Asia, Australia. I don't know that we've had anybody from Africa. We've had Canada, South America. So nobody from from Antarctica. Maybe a few penguins.
Maybe this year,
a few penguins will swim up. But anyway, we have. It's really interesting, and we've talked about this a lot. The Bonnie and Clyde story is not just in the United States; it's international. It is incredible the type of people that come to the festival and where they're from. I shared this with you. We had a group come from Australia, and I said this over on 94.1. Mm-hmm. They came here, first time they'd ever been to America. They took a 2-week vacation to come over to America, and the first place they came to was the Bonnie and Clyde Festival. They didn't go to Washington, D.C., they didn't go to Hollywood or the Grand Canyon. They came to Gibson, Louisiana to the Bonnie and Clyde Festival. That right there says a lot about the popularity of the story, that people are just so, I can't even describe it.
There is a there. I just don't know what it is. It appeals on so many levels, and it does cross the range, the gamut of emotions, from horror, shock, to empathy for the victims, etc. I mean, and John, this 84 years ago?
89.
89. This is almost 90 years ago, and it still has an impact today besides a Louisiana festival.
That's right.
And if you have any thoughts, by the way, there's a Facebook page. Why don't you post it on up there and help us help Gibbsland and the authentic Bonnie and Clyde Festival. You know what to do with the social media side and on the broadcast side. Well, come and go, because the 5 shootouts are all going to be reenactments from historical locations, including the prison break.
That's right. Each shootout is a progression of run-ins that Bonnie and Clyde had with the law. One of them is a reenactment of the East Ham prison breakout, and it's really neat to see. It's in the field kind of behind the Bonnie and Clyde office. They reenact that prison break. They are dressed up in prison stripes, and the 1934 vehicle comes rolling up, and Bonnie and Clyde and W.D. Jones jump out, and it's really a really good reenactment. That one does. That East Ham prison break was one of the famous stories about Bonnie and Clyde's story. And somehow you managed to get the message out, and we're going to do this here.
But you remember maybe Crime Stoppers still goes on, you know, those reenactments of unsolved local crimes?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, I was in Baton Rouge one time, and I was traveling on the road, and I pulled into a convenience store to get some beer. I was going to stay with a friend of mine. And, it's one of these things, you see something, but you're not sure what you see. You look up, and, that guy's got a knife to the clerk's throat.
Oh, wow.
So and I just ran right across the street to a Pizza Hut. And I'm all like, I said, is there a phone? Because we didn't have cell phones. I said, can I use your phone? There's a robbery right across the street right now. And so that sent people in Pizza Hut, So I go, we called the police, and they said that's a reenactment.
Oh, wow.
The point is, they didn't have anybody outside the convenience store to warn them. And so here you're going to have, these are it's not live ammunition, but it's going to be the real deal with smoke and noise. And so folks need to know this going in.
Yes, and the crowd we have crowd control, and so it's very safe. You don't have to worry. One of the things that's pretty interesting is after the shootout, and this is a favorite thing of mine, all of the spent shell casings that are on the ground, after it's all over and everybody's safe and secure, then we open that up and people can pick up the spent shell cases and take a souvenir home with them.
Oh gosh, it's going to be bingo if you want bingo. You said that, didn't you? There's no dancing, as far as I know, but a street dance could break out. Nobody's going to stop.
We've had that happen before. Yeah, we have.
What else could we say here this morning, man? I'm looking forward to Friday night, the historians meeting.
That is really the highlight of the festival, particularly when you look back over the history of the festival and why we have the festival. And so that's a real important piece of it.
All right, this is the big day. Well, John, if we keep talking, we're going to actually cross the exact moment that it happened at 9:15. It's 9 o'clock almost now. Put a good word in because of Perry Carver, he's investing a lot in downtown Gippsland, and that is turning into an economic impact, an economic draw all year long for Gippsland, the Ambush Museum.
Absolutely, and we do appreciate Perry's interest in the town and saving the story of the ambush. His museum has a lot of great real artifacts in it. He is a true supporter of Gippsland. His contribution to all this, he knows the people that are the speakers and that kind of thing, and so when you come by, be sure to go by there. That is something interesting to see.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, you don't, if they miss this festival and they watch this later on, honey, let's go. We're going to the United States of America from Helsinki. Yeah, let's go to.
Yeah.
We're supposed to go to Gippsland first and the Ambush Museum.
Yeah, and one thing about that too, as a final thought about what Perry's done here, he has around 10,000, I don't know, between 8,000 and 10,000 people a year come through that museum. So that's an interesting thing as well.
You're exactly right. All right, so this coming Saturday, be in Arcadia, and for. Yeah, my bad. I bet, does Gippsland have a little bit of, why is Arcadia getting the glory when they only got the bodies?
Well, that's true. Now, a lot of people do associate the Bonnie and Clyde story with Arcadia. Right. Number one, the sheriff was there. Number two, that's where the bodies were taken to be embalmed and then shipped back to Dallas.
All right, one more question. The biggest myth that you know that could be corrected about the legend of Bonnie and Clyde that you feel we can get out right now? Is there a myth or a misunderstanding of the legend and the lore that you're like, wait a second, man, that's not right?
I wasn't prepared to answer.
Oh,
but hang on.
Yeah, but you sure knew the song that you would sit in a room for 72 hours.
I love Steve Miller. I would say probably the biggest myth of all was that they were Robin Hood syndrome.
Well put. That's exactly right. I got some spidey senses there. So you're right.
They were not Robin Hood. They didn't rob from the rich and give to the poor. I know it was the sign of the times and the Depression and all, but I think the biggest myth was they were not Robin Hood.
Good job. All right. Well, John, thank you for what you've done and have continue to do, as well as the team of volunteers, because this has all been volunteer driven all these decades.
Yes.
So
thank you to the volunteers that have made this a success.
All right, so we'll kill the stream here, and y'all know what to do. And thank you so much for coming in. As we get back to, I'll get some Steve Miller. I know a DJ.
All right, so do I. All right.
All right.
Good. Yeah, that's going to be.